At some point in your life, or maybe multiple points in your life, you'll need to be looking for a job. This can be a daunting process. However, it can also be a rewarding and successful exercise. I'd like to take a few minutes and go over some basics of job hunting and also job interviewing. We'll start with job hunting. In searching for a new job, one of the primary activities to start is to prepare a resume. Since that is covered in a different presentation, we're going to skip that here. We're also going to skip the cover letter. As with most major changes and minor changes in your life, this process should start with prayer. Remember, God is in charge and He wants the best for you. So be sure to enlist prayer from your friends, family, fellow students, Christian professors, and people at your church. The first step in looking for a job is to decide what you're looking for. Most of this is covered in the resume presentation, so I won't spend time on it here. Your job search should follow right along on your choice of college major. If you are sure that you have a good objective for your future employment, it's time to develop a reference pool. Crown Financial Ministries, in their article database, defines this pool as people who know about your work ethics, habits, experience, performance, and history. Select people who will speak positively about you. Each should fall into one of three categories: character references, job performance references, and professional expertise references. Decide which ones you think will do the best for you and contact each one by phone. Ask their permission to be used as a reference and explain to them what kind of job you're seeking. There are a number of ways to find jobs. The most productive is through networking. This involves contacting friends or acquaintances that might have a lead into the industry in which you're interested in working. While networking statistically finds most jobs, you will need to use other avenues too. The first is classified advertisements. To do this, you may need to subscribe to a newspaper, a professional journal, or go to the library to find those. Statistically, only 10 to 15% of positions available are advertised. But I can vouch that responding to advertisements can work. I spent 5 years with a Christian agency that I found using a classified advertisement. Jobs are also available through employment agencies and search firms. To utilize this resource, you will need to identify the agencies and search firms that specialize in the area in which you're looking. You will then need to contact them, meet with a professional recruiter, and interview with them. If they have an opening into which you might fit, they will go from there. Stay in touch with your professional recruiter and keep them abreast of any changes in your status. Typically, you should not pay anything for this. Fees for job placement are almost always paid by the employer. Along the agency lines, there may be openings for temporary employment. This not only allows you to make some money while you're looking for your full-time job, but can sometimes put you in the right place to be available for a job before it is even advertised. On top of that, you will get experience in the field in which you're interested. You might consider consulting or contract work if you have a lot of experience in the field where you're searching. This requires significant self-motivation and perseverance to get through the inevitable slow times in the work. If you do consulting or contracting, you will also be responsible for your own taxes, your own health insurance, and any other benefits which you would normally get through a full-time job. Before I leave ways to find jobs, we should cover the Internet. The Internet has become the major way to find jobs through advertising. There are multitudinous websites, many of them specialized, where employers will post job openings. The downside to this massive numbers of job postings is the massive number of job searchers. If you live in a small town in the Midwest and you look at the local newspaper to see a job opening, there's probably not a lot of competition for that job. If you look on the World Wide Web and see a job opening, there is a worldwide competition for that job. The Riley Guide to Internet Job Searching offers good ideas for doing an Internet job search. This guide suggests that there are 4 main activities in a job search and 2 environments. The activities and environments are reviewing job leads. This would include newspapers and journals, or online job banks, online newspapers, and other online resources. The second activity is to research and contact employers. This would include using telephone books, business directories, and employer pamphlets, or online phone books, online business directories, association links, industry sites, employer web pages, and other like websites. The third activity is networking. This can also be done both offline and online. The final activity is to be sure that you have a resume and cover letter ready to post online, send by email, or just stick in the regular mail. The guide makes a very important point. Quote, "You cannot put all your eggs in one of these available 8 baskets." End of quote. To do an effective search, you will need to use multiple avenues. The Riley Guide also lists some FAQs about Internet searching. The first is, why bother? Without reiterating an almost full page of response, the guide says there are a lot of good reasons. It also has some questions to ask before you go online. The first is, what do you want to do? What can you do? These are your skills in prior occupations. Second, for whom do you want to work? Do you want a particular industry, or do you have a preference for employers? Third, where do you want to live and work? The book says location, location, location. It also discusses what kind of sites that you will want to find. Issues like the type of information, dated job listings, retention period of the listings, who runs the service, and fees are things discussed. And it discusses managing your time online. The rule for that is to move from general to specific, but always remember to move. This means start with the large information databases and move progressively to the smaller, more specialized ones. Finally, it emphasizes that the Internet cannot be the only resource used for your job search. The suggestion is to limit your time online to 25% of your total job search time. Once you've gotten a good job lead on an appropriate job, you need to prepare for an interview. Howard Dayton, in his Biblical Financial Study Collegiate Edition, lists 5 things to do to prepare for your interview. The first is to pray. Ask the Lord to help you get the job if this is the one He wants for you. Second, do your homework. Learn as much about the company and the job as possible before the interview. Third, be careful of your appearance. Good grooming is a must, along with clean and neat clothing. Dress conservatively and not too casually. Fourth, be on time. Never arrive late to an interview. And finally, be sure and bring a copy of your resume. Howard also has an extensive list of information that you should know before the interview. In order to keep this presentation down to a reasonable length, we're not going to go through it all. However, there are excellent books on interviewing in your public library, local bookstores, and probably your school's career center. As we finish, a couple of highlights would be appropriate. First, in preparation for an interview, you should review frequently asked interviewer questions. These can be found in interview books or in doing web searches. Being ready to answer a question before it is asked will look very good to an interviewer. Next, you should be sure and have a question or two for the interviewer, usually about the company. Third, first impressions are critical. Be careful of your behavior and attitude. Remain enthusiastic. Fourth, always thank the interviewer for their time. And finally, always follow up in a few days with a thank you note. And of course, the most important thing you can do after the interview is to pray.